I supported my family for 7 years, then my dad called me a leech and kicked me out. For 7 straight years, I was the quiet force keeping our family together. Rent? Handled. Power bill? Paid. Groceries, birthdays, random emergencies. If there was a bill tied to it, I took care of it without a fuss. I never made a scene, not even when my bank account started looking bleak. Or when I skipped dinner and stayed in my room pretending I wasn't hungry, just to hide the fact I was living off cheap instant noodles. But before I dive into all that, let me say this. I've noticed the channel's been slowing down a bit lately. If you're here and you like these stories, hitting that subscribe button is the easiest way to show support. It's fast, it's free, and it really helps keep this community growing strong. Being the eldest daughter, I felt it was my duty. So when my dad lost his job after his company went under, I stepped up, no hesitation. By the time I was 23, I was pulling double shifts just to keep things from falling apart. I worked retail during the day, then stayed up late doing freelance design gigs at night. My brother was off at college. My sister was still in high school. Mom was completely overwhelmed, always teetering on the edge. And Dad? He never once uttered the words, "Thank you." Still, I kept going because I loved them. Deep down, I kept wishing, maybe even praying, that one day they'd see me as more than just the family fixer or the reliable one. I wanted them to see me as a daughter, as someone who mattered too, someone who needed a break, or at the very least, a little recognition. But that day never came. What I got instead was a hit, not with a hand, but something colder and sharper than a slap. It was deliberate, calculated. It happened on a dull, gray Sunday while I was cleaning out the fridge. I had just finished paying off the last of Dad's lingering credit card debt from a hospital visit years ago. And for a split second, I thought, maybe he'd see me. Maybe this time he'd actually notice. "Dad," I said gently, "I think we need to start budgeting differently. I can't keep footing all the bills on my own." He glanced up from his coffee with a scowl and let out a laugh that held no humor. "You act like you're doing us a favor," he muttered. I blinked, trying to make sure I heard him right. "I am helping," I replied softly. "I've been covering almost everything." That's when he stood up, slammed his coffee mug down on the counter, and let the words fly, words that would echo in my head for years. "Oh, so now you think you're some kind of saint," he sneered. "You're just a parasite with a martyr complex. You live here rent-free, and now you're lecturing us like we owe you something? If you're that tired of helping, then get out." I froze. Mom was right there, standing just feet away. She didn't say a word. My sister glanced up from her phone, didn't blink. My brother, home for the weekend, just shrugged and went back to eating his cereal like nothing happened. No one stood up for me. No one said, "Hey, she's the reason we've made it this far." It was like I didn't exist. I stood there in the kitchen, heart racing, not sure whether to scream, cry, or collapse. Instead, I walked to my room, shut the door, and sat in complete silence. That same night, I packed a small suitcase. I didn't tell anyone, didn't yell, didn't slam doors. I just walked out. I moved into a friend's cramped guest room and kept my location to myself. Then, I started cutting the ties one by one. The mortgage autopay? Canceled. The utilities? Shut off. That grocery delivery service I'd been paying for? Deleted. Gone. 2 weeks later, my phone lit up with missed calls and messages. At first, I felt this gnawing guilt. Every time I ignored another call from Mom or left my brothers, "Why are the lights off?" Text on read. My stomach twisted in knots. All those years had trained me to put myself dead last. Their needs, their comfort, it always came before mine, no matter how much it cost me inside. But after what happened that Sunday morning, something inside me finally broke. And this time, I didn't fix it. I just let the silence speak for me. For the first time in 7 years, they had to face the mess without me. The fridge stayed there. The water got cut off. They missed car payments. I sat quietly on the sidelines, watching Mom post vague Facebook updates asking for prayers during hard times. Not once did they mention my name. The second I stopped being useful, I was erased from their story like I'd never existed. 3 weeks after I left, my phone buzzed with a call from an unfamiliar number. I answered without thinking. It was my sister. "You're being so dramatic," she snapped. "Mom and Dad are falling apart, and you're out there pretending like you're some victim." I took a breath. "You mean the victim who's been paying for your Wi-Fi, your lunch orders, and your online shopping for the past 4 years?" There was nothing but silence on the other end. "You knew," I said quietly. "You all knew exactly what I was doing for you. Every bill I paid, every sacrifice I made. You just chose not to care." She hung up on me without another word. That night, I finally broke down. Not from guilt or second-guessing myself, but from pure grief. The kind that hits when you realize your own family never saw you as more than a walking bank account with a pulse. I sat alone and wrote a letter, not to send, just to unload everything I'd been burying deep for years. You called me a leech, Dad, but I'm the one who kept a roof over your head. You called me selfish, but when's the last time anyone asked if I was even okay? When I stopped paying, you didn't just lose the money. You lost the only person who gave a damn, who held everything together when you treated me like I was invisible. 2 months slipped by. I moved into a tiny studio apartment that was all mine. Picked up a better remote job, and for the first time in my adult life, I started spending money on myself. I bought real groceries instead of cheap noodles. I started therapy. I slept through the night without waking up panicked about bills. I wasn't just getting by anymore. I was finally living. Then came the email. The subject line read, "You, E&T, please read." It was from my dad, a wall of text, no greeting, no warning. He said they were about to get evicted. Claimed they were blindsided by all the bills I used to cover. He asked if I could help them out just this once, and that'd be enough to keep them afloat. There wasn't a single apology in the message, just panic and desperation. I didn't reply. I waited. A few days later, a letter showed up at my job, my new one. The address wasn't something I'd ever shared with them. Somehow, they still found it. Inside was a copy of something that made my blood run cold. It was my dad's retirement insurance paperwork, and my name wasn't on it. I'd been cut out. They'd officially removed me 2 years earlier, behind my back. The reason given? I wasn't reliable. So while they leaned on me for years to survive, they'd already erased me from their plans, long before I ever walked away. I didn't answer, didn't need to, but something in me shifted that day. I realized I wasn't just walking away from them. I was going to take back my story, and that's when fate stepped in. Out of nowhere, a college friend I hadn't heard from in years texted me. Hey, isn't that duplex your parents live in? My uncle's firm just bought the building. They're planning to renovate and resell unless someone wants to manage the lease. Want me to put you in touch? I stared at the screen. The same roof I once fought to keep over their heads was now sitting in the palm of my hand. And for the first time, I smiled, not out of spite, but because it finally felt like karma showed up right on time. So I took the meeting, not out of revenge, but out of clarity. The building was in bad shape, just like how they let things rot between us. They'd also let the place fall apart. But I saw potential. I had money saved now, good credit, and more importantly, better judgment. I bought the property under an LLC, no name they'd recognize, no ties to me on paper. As far as they knew, I was gone. But I wasn't. I was right there, watching when the deed changed hands. That same day, I got a voicemail from my mother. She was crying. "We got a notice," she whispered between sobs. "They're selling the building. We're going to lose the house." I don't know what to do. That house. That was the same place I'd kept afloat with midnight design gigs and overdraft fees. The same home I made sure didn't go into foreclosure. And now she was mourning it like she had been the one fighting to save it. It didn't shatter me. It steadied me. I mailed a formal letter from the LLC. A 60-day notice. Straightforward. Legal. No emotion attached. That's when they showed up. Not at my old apartment. Not at my friend's guest room. They found me at my new condo. My little slice of peace. Word had apparently gotten around through mutuals and distant family. I looked out the window and saw them standing there. My dad, arms crossed like nothing ever happened. My mom looked tired and unsure. My brother, who hadn't said a word to me in months, held a grocery bag like it was some kind of peace offering. "Can we come in?" Dad asked, flat, like we were old neighbors catching up. "No," I said. He tried again. "Look, we're going through a lot right now. You've made your point, but family helps each other. You owe us that much." I let out a quiet laugh. Not the kind that comes from humor. The kind that comes when you're finally done with the play. "I owe you?" I gave everything I had for 7 years. He called me a leech and kicked me out when I couldn't carry the weight anymore. Mom stepped forward, her eyes glassy. "We were under a lot of stress." "We didn't mean it," Mom whispered. "Oh yeah," I said, calm but firm. "Did you not mean it when you took my name off Dad's retirement policy? Was that just another stress-induced accident?" Their expressions dropped like stone. They weren't expecting that. "I know everything," I told them. "You made me the fallback plan, the silent workhorse who just kept pulling no matter what. And when I finally got tired, instead of saying thank you, you tried to wipe me out of the picture." I looked at them both, steady, no flinching. "Well now," I said, "I'd like you out of my finances, my responsibilities, and my future." They didn't say a word, but I wasn't done. "In fact, I'm going to do one better," I added, taking a step forward. "I'm not throwing you out. I'm giving you a choice." My dad squinted, confused. "What kind of choice?" "You can stay in that house," I said, "but only under one condition, same as anyone else would get. You'll pay full rent. On time. No exceptions. No favors. Just like a regular tenant." Or, I continued, "you can leave." The silence that followed was thick. It hung in the air a beat too long. "You're bluffing," my brother scoffed. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just stepped back toward the doorway and held up the new set of keys. They say otherwise. And that was it. No more yelling. No dramatic pleas. No last-minute guilt trips. Just silence as they turned around and walked away. In that moment, I knew I had finally taken everything back on my terms. Weeks went by. They never chose to stay. Instead, they packed up and moved in with one of my aunts, the one who always looked down on me for being too independent and never settling down. I heard through the grapevine that things weren't exactly cozy over there, but they never reached out again. Not once. I kept the duplex. I fixed it up. Turned the second unit into a peaceful little studio space where I could finally breathe without feeling like the weight of the world was sitting on my chest. I painted the walls deep red. Warm, bold, mine. The rain from tenants covered my pills. The quiet covered my feeling. One day, I printed out that voicemail mom got, the one where she cried about losing the house I once saved. I didn't frame it to be petty. I did it to remind myself of who I am. I'm not a leech. I'm not disposable. And I sure as hell am not anyone's backup plan. I was the foundation they built their lives on. And now, I'm the one standing tall. And when people ask if I ever miss my family, I just smile and tell them, nah. Because I finally built something better, a family of my own, maybe boundaries, grace, and my name on the deed. Full circle. All mine.